What I love about your story, Brennan, is that in the middle of this pandemic and we're sliding into a recession here, there's so much panic and fear and chaos, but you saw this opportunity where restaurants are still open for, takeout and delivery, a lot of them, and you saw that opportunity and you were able to make for yourself an extra $20,000 in profit over just a couple of months. What's up, peeps? This is Todd, and welcome back to my show. Today, I have an awesome episode for you because I have my good friend on, Brennan Wolf, and he's going to talk about how to make extra money during a pandemic. So, welcome, Brennan.
Thank you, Todd. It's good to be here. How's it going?
Hey, man, it is going well, and I love your story because you're a guy with a very traditional 9-to-5 job, and you saw what happened in the pandemic. You saw people were, in a lot of hurt, and you were able to just basically be resourceful and make a lot of money in a very short amount of time. And I wanted you to basically just come on here and tell your story and how you did it and how anyone can do it and just learn from the man.
Cool. So like everybody else, Tulsa, Oklahoma had shelter in place. And I got extremely bored sitting inside. And one of the things that came up on my radar was home delivery for food and stuff like that. So anyways, I had not really paid attention to these things in the past. Actually signed up to started doing it because I was sitting at home, wanted something to do, and I also wanted to see how it would work out economically. Well, that was like mid-February when I first signed up, kind of before this whole thing happened, and I went full-fledged during March, April, May, and still to this day. I'm working about like 45 hours a week, and I work about 40 hours at my regular daytime job. And I've been doing Uber Eats and DoorDash, and I did a little bit of Uber mobile or rideshare, but I'm no longer doing that just because of cases spiking and stuff like that. But anyways, I've worked like over 1,200 hours just DoorDashing and Uber Eats. In addition, that's not counting my regular 9-to-5 job. So I've been working a lot and staying busy. That's just kind of how I've dealt with this whole thing. But it's been a lot of work, but it's actually pretty profitable if you know how to work it. So we can talk about those things.
Yeah, dude. So that is crazy. So because I hear all the time that people don't want side hustles because they already have a full-time job. Like, hey, I work 35 or 40 hours a week. I don't have time for a side hustle. And your side hustle is equivalent to another full-time job. Did I hear that right?
That's right. Yeah. And it's going to be a full-time job by the end of the year. I'm trying to book like at least 2,000 hours. Wow.
Okay. That's incredible. So it's got to be worth it if you're willing to put so much time into it. So can you walk us through on Uber Eats, because I imagine there's your time, there's like gas money and maintenance for your car. I know Uber Eats takes something off of it. I've never driven for them or anything like that, but I imagine they take some sort of fee. So what have you actually made in the last few months by doing this DoorDash and Uber Eats delivery?
So I've booked over $25,000 revenue. And what I've made after gas, after maintenance on my car, so that's like new tires, new brakes, and then gas expense, profit, and paying taxes. By the way, when you're driving for Uber Eats, you're subject to self-employment taxes, and that's at least 30% tax rate because you're paying for Social Security and FILA, and then your normal income tax bracket. So it's about $20,000 profit. So I know a lot of times when you hear about Uber drivers, they're telling you what they make per hour, but it does not include those costs that you end up having to pay for anyways. So it's about, I'm making about $16, $17 an hour profit. And
that's incredible.
Yeah. But it's a lot of work. Revenue is lumpy sometimes, as you can imagine. I mean, you've got like regular dinner and lunch, and then, munchy hours like late night, people getting hungry coming home from the bar. But on top of that, you also have weeks where people are out for vacation. So you got slower weeks than others. You've got like 4th of July, or in Tulsa, my best week ever was when Trump came to town, and people were Uber eating at the Hyatt downtown like crazy. I made like $1,800 that week, and I worked like 60 hours. That was revenue. And
Right.
so anyways, what I've found out is if you stick with it and you're consistent, you will be profitable. A lot of drivers quit, they're part-time, and they're not putting in like the time and effort, so their results are like subpar. But I also want to talk about something else. Recently in your town in Seattle, there was an independent study done by a university where they analyzed the earnings of Uber and Lyft drivers in Seattle, and the average that they made is about $25 an hour.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
that's with some of the best drivers, and that's with some of the worst drivers. Some of the best drivers made like 40, $50, and some of the worst made less than that. So that's kind of that's kind of how some of my days go too. So anyways.
Well, what I love about your story, Brennan, is that in the middle of this pandemic and we're sliding into a recession here, there's so much panic and fear and chaos, but you saw this opportunity where restaurants were closing their doors as far as their dining room goes. They were still open for, takeout and delivery, a lot of them. And you saw that opportunity and you were able to make for yourself an extra $20,000 in profit over just a couple of months, which is no small feat, especially in a pandemic and a recession. And now your bank account is $20,000 fatter. That is amazing.
Yep. And what I've noticed is, I don't know if restaurants sit down, what I'm seeing in my town is going to come on full time for the next at least 2 years. So that money that waiters and waitresses and bartenders were making has now shifted to the delivery drivers. And so that's kind of how the market, in my view, has turned to. Money hasn't left the system, it's just shifted for the restaurants and where, a lot of it can be made.
Right. That's a really good point. I think you're right on it there too, is money's still in circulation and money is still being spent. It's just where is it being spent and how do I get myself in the position to capture that? So, I mean, do you have any tips or advice to anyone out there who is looking for a side hustle or, what I'm picturing is there are people that want to make more money, and people that want to save more money, but they don't necessarily want to go work another job. And so they like the flexibility of something like Uber Eats because you can plan your own schedule. And, what I talk about is investing in real estate and, stocks, bonds, and all that stuff. But being completely transparent, not everyone is going to be able to build a real estate empire. That's just the truth, right? Like, not everyone is going to be able to pick the right stock. Like, you're very good in the stock market. But I do think that there are a lot of people who can go get a side hustle, especially right now in the delivery service. So what tips would you have for anyone looking to make or save some extra money that maybe a little bit wary about what to do?
Yeah, that's a really good point, Todd. It is a lot of work. So what I recommend is if you might have some free time, but you don't want to go full on like I've gone into delivering food is let's say you have some student debt. Let's say you want to pay off a car. I would set that as your goal for signing up for a service like this to pay it off. So that way you get your motivation, your spark to start and then complete.
That is awesome. You found a niche, you went with it, you've made a lot of money, and it seems to be going well for you. And now you're pretty much just like stacking on top of your already 9 to 5, which is it's just music to my ears because I'm always looking for multiple revenue streams. And I guess shifting gears a little bit, I don't want to make this video any longer than it needs to be, but I would be curious to know, because you are so experienced in the stock market, do you have any thoughts about where it's going and if it's a good time to buy right now because things are a bit low, or what is your opinion on that?
That's a good point. And I'm going to back into the answer to that question with what I'm doing with my bank to maximize my gas back rewards to then answer your question. Mm-hmm. So one thing that you've talked about, Todd, in the past is opening up these bank bonus rewards. Well, there are also brokerage account opening bonus rewards that you can qualify for. So Bank of America was running a deal where if you moved in a certain amount, $50,000, $100,000 into a brokerage account, you qualified for a platinum tier status of the bank, and it gave you, so my current card without that status earned 3% on gas. Well, it boosted my rewards 75, 100%. So I'm making 4.5%, 5% cash back on gas.
Wow.
So that aids me with my side hustle. And in terms of buying, I'm a huge believer in the Vanguard S&P 500 fund. That is always going to buy the best companies in America. And we still live in the best country in the world. The most profitable companies are here. So I think dollar cost averaging is your best way to win in the market, not trying to time the market. Like to touch on this. I mean, we know that young people have a long time horizon. I think that people over 40 and 50 and 60 have long time horizons, like 20, 30 years easy. So I think now is a good time to buy. I do a little bit of individual stock picking, and one company that I bought a lot in March was Berkshire Hathaway. It's a super conservative investment. About 30% of the market cap right now is just in cash. Mm-hmm. He owns 5% of Apple. He owns 10% of Bank of America. And it's a super profitable business. They own the largest insurance conglomerate in the world. And they own a railroad and the largest utility electrical company in the world, mm-hmm. or in the United States. So those are some of the things that I've been putting money into. And so obviously I'm using that side hustle to build up and put money in there. I also utilize a Costco membership. And so I get gas about 15 cents a gallon cheaper when I'm driving as well. So not only just getting out there, getting revenue, but also controlling your costs. And so the next thing, that I can mention is what kind of car you should choose when doing something like this. I actually see a lot of drivers driving around like trucks and SUVs, door dashing, that get really super low gas mileage. I drive a hail damaged 2009 Hyundai Sonata. I bought it with 98,000 miles. It's got like 140,000 miles already since January. And so I would say buy the cheapest car you can get. It doesn't even look hail damaged, by the way. It's been repaired. It was repaired before I bought it, but I would say looking at your costs, I even bring my own parts to my mechanic, like brake pads, so I can save on that. So you can also, that's kind of how I'm boosting my margins on the back end as well. As you can, it's not just driving a car and boosting up revenue, but you've got a menu of other items at your disposal that create synergies across whatever platform you're trying to build.
Dude, that is killer. I think that's great advice. I think that's awesome. And yeah, I mean, Brennan is a guy who has done it. He has the normal traditional job, but he's also very successful investing in stocks. He's made about $20,000 in profit in the last couple of months during this pandemic. And I mean, if it's doable, like to anyone out there who says it's impossible, this is definitely doable. Well, Brennan, thank you so much for coming on today. It was an absolute pleasure speaking to you. And yeah, I know you're going to crush in everything you do. And we'll talk again, I'm sure, at the end of this year about the money you've made from Uber Eats and stuff, how you've invested that. I'd be curious to know at the end of the year what that looks like for you. So I'm sure we'll talk again then.
Sounds good. Thanks, Todd. It was good to see you again.
Awesome. Take it easy, man.
See you, dude.